Welcome back. Please like, share the video, and subscribe to the channel.
Welcome back to the show, everyone. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. We have some massive news to break down today involving South America and global energy security.
That's right. President Trump recently announced a major breakthrough following a very dramatic weekend operation.
Wow, it really was intense. U.S. forces successfully captured Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores, in Caracas.
Exactly. And now the political landscape is shifting fast. President Trump revealed that the new interim authorities in Venezuela have agreed to a huge deal. They are transferring between 30 and 50 million barrels of what they call high-quality, sanctioned oil directly to American control.
50 million barrels? That is an incredible amount of oil. What is the plan for all those assets?
Right, that's the big question. President Trump explained that the United States will sell this oil on the global market. The goal is to stabilize energy prices for everyone. Plus, the revenue will be used to help the American people and to fund the reconstruction of Venezuela.
It sounds like a win-win. This is all part of the Hemisphere First policy we've been hearing about lately, right?
Precisely. The administration wants to dismantle the influence of adversaries in South America. You know, it wasn't just a small operation. It involved about 200 U.S. personnel entering Caracas.
And it's not just on land. The U.S. Navy is currently enforcing a blockade to keep the area secure. I read that they even seized a Russian-flagged vessel called the Bella 1 because it tried to break through the maritime cordon.
Right. It shows how serious the situation is. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has been very vocal, saying this is the start of a real democratic restoration for the Venezuelan people.
It's a lot to take in. And looking ahead, President Trump is meeting with leaders from American oil giants like Chevron and ExxonMobil this Friday.
Exactly. They need to discuss how to fix Venezuela's infrastructure, which has been crumbling for years.
It really sounds like the end of economic isolation for such an oil-rich nation.
Definitely. It's a historic shift in global politics.
Well, that's all the time we have for this update. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our daily news catch-up. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we're discussing a story that sounds like a movie plot, but it's actually happening right now in the White House.
Right. We're talking about the massive island of Greenland. The White House just officially confirmed that President Trump is moving forward with a strategic roadmap to acquire the territory.
That's acquire, which basically means to buy or obtain. Exactly. President Trump sees Greenland as a critical asset. In other words, he believes it is a very important tool for American security and resource dominance.
Wow. But why is it so important suddenly? It's mostly ice, isn't it?
Well, it's all about the Arctic region. Because of global warming, ice is melting and opening new shipping routes. President Trump wants to deter or stop countries like Russia and China from gaining too much influence there.
I see. So it's about power and control. And I heard Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt say the administration is looking at a range of options to get this done. She even mentioned that utilizing the military is an option available to President Trump.
That's a very serious statement, Alex. It shows this isn't just a curious idea anymore. It's now a formalized national security goal.
You know, I was reading about something called the GIUK gap. Can you explain why that matters?
Sure. It's a specific area in the ocean that acts like a choke point. By controlling it, the U.S. can monitor naval movements in the North Atlantic. Plus, there's the Patufic Space Base. That's already there, and it's a cornerstone for our missile warning systems.
Right, so it's a shield for the U.S. But what about the untapped minerals the news mentioned?
Exactly. Greenland has huge deposits of rare earth elements. We need those to build electric vehicles and advanced military technology.
So it's a gold mine for resources, too. But I imagine the Danish government isn't very happy about this.
You're right. European allies are quite alarmed by the rhetoric. They aren't used to this new Arctic doctrine.
It's definitely a bold move. It seems President Trump is taking a much more assertive approach to expanding U.S. influence.
It certainly is. It's changing how we look at the map.
For sure. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Tech Catch-Up. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we are talking about the 2026 Consumer Electronics Show, or CES. This year was absolutely mind-blowing. It feels like we are living in a sci-fi movie.
It really does. The big theme this year is ambient intelligence. Basically, AI is moving out of our phones and into things we wear.
Exactly. For example, Motorola showed off Kira. It's an AI pendant you wear around your neck. It has a camera and a microphone, so it sees and hears exactly what you do. It's like having a digital twin helping you all day.
Wow, imagine that. And for the gamers out there, Razer introduced Project Motoko. It's a headset that can translate signs in foreign languages or even summarize a document while you're looking at it.
Right. It's all about low-friction tech. That means we don't have to keep staring at our phone screens. You know, President Trump recently mentioned how important these American tech breakthroughs are for our future economy. He's really emphasizing that the U.S. should lead the world in this physical AI era.
Definitely. President Trump is pushing for more made-in-America high-tech manufacturing, and CES 2026 proves the industry is ready. Speaking of physical tech, did you see the laptops?
Oh, you mean the rollable ones? Lenovo's new ThinkPad is incredible. The screen actually expands and wraps around the back of the laptop.
It's so cool. And it wasn't just laptops. Samsung and LG are fighting over art TVs. LG's new gallery TV looks just like a real painting on your wall.
I love that. Tech is becoming part of our home decor. But Alex, we have to mention NVIDIA. They are the ones making all of this possible, right?
Exactly. They unveiled the Rubin platform and the Vera CPU. These are super powerful computer chips. They provide the brain power for everything from smart rings to those autonomous robocars we saw for city travel.
It's amazing. So the lesson this year is the smartphone era is fading and the era of wearable AI is here.
Well said, Jamie. Thanks for joining us today to learn about the future.
See you next time.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we have some absolutely massive news from the world of technology. Alex, have you seen the latest numbers for Elon Musk's AI company?
Oh, you mean XAI? It's hard to miss. They just reached a valuation of $230 billion. That is billion with a B.
Wow, that is a giant number. For our listeners, valuation just means how much the market thinks a company is worth. To get there, they recently raised $20 billion in new funding.
Right, and what's really interesting is who led that funding. It was NVIDIA.
Exactly. NVIDIA is the company that makes the powerful chips needed to run AI. By partnering so closely, XAI gets special access to the newest hardware, like those Blackwell and Rubin chips we've heard about.
You know, that gives them a huge advantage over competitors like Google or OpenAI. It's like having a race car with a better engine than everyone else.
That's a great way to put it. They are using those chips to train Grok, their AI model. Musk says he wants it to be a truth-seeking AI, which many investors really like.
Now, there is also a political side to this growth. This surge in value is happening at the same time as President Trump's push for deregulation.
Right. President Trump wants to reduce the number of rules and red tape for American tech companies. This makes it much easier for giant companies to expand quickly without being slowed down by the government.
Exactly. President Trump's focus on domestic growth has created a very friendly environment for companies like XAI. It seems like the goal now isn't just a better chatbot, but reaching artificial general intelligence, or AGI.
AGI is basically an AI that can think as well as a human. It feels like we are in a high-speed race to get there.
We definitely are. This partnership between Musk and NVIDIA, combined with the current political climate, is really redrawing the map of the tech world.
It's going to be a wild ride. Well, that's all for today's update. Thanks for listening.
See you next time.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to our daily news update. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we're talking about a massive change in U.S. healthcare that has everyone talking.
That's right. President Trump has just announced a major overhaul of the pediatric vaccine schedule. For those listening who might not know, the schedule is basically the list of shots children are required to get before they can start school.
Right, and this is a huge deal because it changes a system that has been in place for decades. For a long time, federal health agencies mandated these shots based on scientific recommendations. But President Trump is taking the country in a different direction.
Exactly. Under these new guidelines, the administration has reduced the number of required immunizations. Most importantly, they are shifting the authority over to individual states and ultimately to the parents.
Wow, so it's less about a national rule and more about personal choice?
Exactly. It's a central part of President Trump's medical freedom initiative. You know, his team even used some pretty strong language, calling the old federal rules a regulatory reign of terror. They want to reduce the power of big government bureaucracies.
Regulatory reign of terror. That's a very intense phrase. So I imagine people have very different opinions on this. What are the supporters saying?
Well, proponents argue that the old system was just too burdensome for families. They believe this change restores common sense. For them, it's all about parental rights. The idea that a mother or father should decide what's best for their child's health.
I see. They want to move the power back to the family. But what about the medical community? I'm sure doctors have some concerns.
You're right, they do. Many public health experts and pediatric associations are actually quite worried. They are warning that if fewer children get vaccinated, we could see a resurgence or a comeback of preventable diseases that we haven't seen in years.
That's a scary thought. It's a difficult balance between individual freedom and keeping the whole community safe from illness.
It really is. But despite that criticism, the White House is staying firm. Senior officials say the goal is to ensure medical decisions are made at the kitchen table rather than in a government office in Washington.
The kitchen table. That's a great way to visualize it. It's certainly a policy that will affect every family in America.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this breakdown.
See you next time.
Welcome back to the program. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we're diving into some major news from Paris that could change the future of Europe.
Right. You might have seen the headlines about a coalition of the willing. It sounds like something from a movie, doesn't it?
It really does, but this is very real. Ukrainian President Zelensky, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer, and French President Macron just signed a landmark security declaration.
Exactly. They are calling it a coalition of the willing. Basically, the UK and France are leading a new group to provide direct military and logistical support to Ukraine.
Now, for our listeners, it's important to note that this is happening outside of the traditional NATO structure. It's a more independent European move. Alex, what are they actually going to do on the ground?
Well, the plan is to deploy a multinational force. But they aren't just there for traditional combat. They're focusing on what we call critical infrastructure. You know, things like power grids, bridges, and energy plants.
Right, so they want to keep the lights on and the country running. I also read they'll be helping with demining operations.
Exactly. Thousands of mines need to be cleared so people can safely return home. They want to create security zones to help displaced citizens get back to their normal lives.
It sounds like a massive task, but how does this connect to what's happening in the U.S.? We know President Trump has a very specific vision for foreign policy.
That's a great point, Jamie. President Trump is currently leading the global effort on a ceasefire monitoring mechanism. His administration has been very vocal about burden sharing.
Burden sharing. That means he wants allies to pay their fair share and take more responsibility, right?
Exactly. President Trump's administration actually supports this new European initiative. It fits his strategy of having regional allies lead their own security, while the U.S. focuses on the broader peace process.
Wow. So while President Trump monitors the ceasefire, Macron and Starmer are providing the boots on the ground for reconstruction and stability.
Precisely. It's a shift in how the world works together. Macron emphasized that this isn't just about war. It's about ensuring a lasting peace for the whole continent.
It's definitely a pivotal moment. Thanks for breaking that down, Alex.
Anytime. Thanks for joining us, everyone. We'll see you in the next episode.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we're talking about something that sounds like it's from a science fiction movie, but it affects almost every piece of technology you own.
Exactly. We're talking about rare earth materials. China just announced very strict export controls on these items, specifically targeting Japan.
Wow. Export controls basically means China is limiting what they sell to Japan, right? Why is this happening now?
Well, China's Ministry of Commerce just released the new list called the 2026 Catalog of Dual-Use Items. These materials are essential for high-tech electronics, electric vehicle motors, and even advanced military hardware.
Interesting. You said dual use. For our listeners, that means things that can be used for both peaceful products like cars and for military weapons.
Right. Beijing says this is for national security. However, many experts believe it's actually a response to Japan's support for Taiwan. You know, politics usually plays a big role in these trade decisions.
I see. And this also involves the U.S., doesn't it?
Definitely. Japan has been working closely with U.S. strategic goals. President Trump has been very vocal about this. He's been pressuring allies to de-risk from China.
De-risk. That's a great term for our learners. It means trying to make your economy less dependent on one single country so you don't run into trouble later.
Exactly. But for Japan, this is a huge challenge. Their automotive and robotics industries are famous worldwide, and they rely heavily on Chinese minerals to stay on top.
So how is Japan reacting? I imagine Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi is quite busy right now.
She is. Her government has already set up a special office to help companies deal with these trade disruptions. They are calling for more international cooperation to find new places to buy these materials.
It sounds like a rare earth war is starting. Could this make our phones or cars more expensive?
It's possible. Analysts say prices might jump around. But on the bright side, it might push scientists to invent new technologies that don't need these materials at all.
Wow, technology moves so fast. Thanks for explaining that, Alex.
My pleasure. See you next time. Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the show. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today, we're looking at a very red day for global stock markets. If you've checked your investment apps today, you might want to take a deep breath.
Seriously, Jamie. From the Sensex in India to the Nikkei in Japan, prices are sliding. It's a major global slump, and it's catching a lot of people by surprise.
Wow, so what exactly is causing all this stress? Is it just one thing or a mix of problems?
It's definitely a mix, but the biggest headlines are coming from South America. The geopolitical landscape is changing fast.
Right, you're talking about the situation in Venezuela. I saw that on the news this morning.
Exactly. The ongoing U.S. military operations there have really shaken investor sentiment. With the capture of the Maduro regime and the current naval blockade, investors are very worried about the future of global oil supplies.
But wait, I heard President Trump spoke about this recently to calm the markets.
You're right. President Trump assured the public that millions of barrels of Venezuelan oil will be available very soon. In fact, President Trump is scheduled to meet with American oil executives to discuss long-term investments in South America.
That sounds like a big plan, but the markets don't seem convinced yet. Why is that?
Well, you know how it is, Jamie. Investors hate uncertainty. Even with those assurances, The immediate volatility makes people want to sell their riskier assets and move to safety.
Like safe havens, right? I remember you mentioned gold before.
Exactly. Gold and government bonds are very popular right now. It seems people are also experiencing what analysts call tech fatigue. Even though the S&P 500 hit record highs yesterday, investors are now rotating out of those big tech stocks.
And we can't forget about the trade wars, right? That's still happening.
Right. There's a deepening rift between China and Japan, plus renewed concerns that the Trump administration might hike tariffs again soon.
It's a lot to process. So what's the final word for today?
Most experts say we are in a wait-and-see phase. Everyone is watching closely to see how President Trump's Hemisphere First economic policy is implemented.
Hemisphere first. That's a powerful name for a policy.
It is. It's a major shift in how the U.S. handles trade and energy.
Well, thanks for breaking that down, Alex. It's certainly a wild time for the global economy.
It sure is. Thanks for listening, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Today we are looking at a country that is moving incredibly fast. It is often called a bright spot in the world economy. Can you guess which one it is, Jamie?
I'm guessing you mean India, Alex. And the latest news is actually quite impressive. The Indian government just projected a real GDP growth of 7.4% for the next financial year.
Wow, 7.4%. That is much higher than most other major economies, right? I mean, last year it was around 6.5%, so this is a big jump.
Exactly. It's a very upbeat forecast. To help our listeners, upbeat just means very positive or optimistic. They are also expecting nominal growth, which includes inflation, to be around 8%. This suggests the economy is stable.
So what is driving all this growth? Is it just people buying more things?
That's part of it, but it's mostly about three things: innovation, services, and a massive push for green energy. For example, India is trying to transition to cleaner power. They expect their battery storage capacity to increase 10 times by the end of 2026.
10 times? That's huge for renewable energy. I also read something about their railways.
Oh, right. The Indian Railways is focusing on large-scale electrification. By using electricity instead of older fuels, they are saving thousands of crores every year. It's all part of a plan with over 850 new infrastructure projects, like roads and bridges.
It sounds like they are really building for the future. You know, it's interesting how this fits into the global picture. With President Trump leading the United States right now, there is a lot of focus on global trade and supply chains.
Definitely. Many international companies are looking for alternatives to China. Because of favorable trade policies and a growing domestic market, India is becoming a top choice.
Right. Even with trade disputes happening in the Pacific and global shifts under President Trump's administration, India's strategy seems to be providing a buffer.
That's a good word. A buffer is like a shield that protects you from outside shocks.
Exactly. By focusing on their own innovation and infrastructure, they are staying strong despite global volatility.
It's definitely a country to watch. 7.4% growth is no small feat.
Well, that's all for today's economic update. Thanks for joining us.
See you next time.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Daily Brief. I'm Alex.
And I'm Jamie. Today we are looking at some very serious news coming out of the Middle East. It seems like tensions in Iran have reached what experts call a boiling point.
Right, exactly. After more than a week of protests across several major cities, the Iranian judiciary has issued a very stern warning. They are saying there will be no leniency for anyone they consider a rioter.
No leniency. That's a strong phrase for our listeners, isn't it? It basically means the government will not be merciful or go easy on people.
Precisely. While the government says people have a theoretical right to demonstrate, they are being very clear. If they think you are undermining national security or damaging property, the consequences will be harsh.
Wow. And this isn't just happening in one place. It has spread quickly.
But Alex, what exactly is causing this wave of civil disobedience?
Well, it's a mix of things. Primarily, it's economic grievances, which are complaints about the rising cost of living, and social restrictions. People are feeling a lot of frustration with the current political stagnation. It's one of the biggest challenges the government there has faced in years.
I see. So the public's frustration is reaching a crescendo. And meanwhile, the rest of the world is watching this very closely, right?
Definitely, especially here in the U.S. President Trump's administration is continuing its maximum pressure strategy against the Iranian regime.
Right. President Trump has expressed support for the Iranian people's right to peaceful assembly, but he has also warned the leadership in Tehran against using a violent crackdown to stop the protests.
Exactly. It's a very delicate situation. And we can't forget the regional context. There are still airstrikes happening in Yemen by the Saudi-led coalition against groups backed by Iran.
So the Iranian leadership is feeling pressure from both inside and outside the country. That sounds like an incredibly precarious or dangerous position to be in.
It really is. Human rights groups are already calling for independent investigations into reports of deaths and detentions. However, the Iranian government remains defiant. They are actually blaming foreign agents for instigating the violence.
It's a lot to process. We will certainly keep an eye on how this develops.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us today to break this down.
See you next time.